Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Today we're going to be talking about what I believe is the most versatile weapon in Cold War Zombies. A weapon that has been buffed recently while other prominent weapons that everyone's using have been nerfed, and also a really effective weapon of choice for boss fights and for speedrunners alike. It's none other than the M16, and I'm going to be giving you an OP loadout for it today, as well as a bunch of tips of how to optimize its power. To start with, why the M16? Why not just use a Gallo or a Hauer like everyone has been doing for the last 6 months of Cold War Zombies? And the answer is simple. You can still run a Gower or a Hallow if you want to, but in terms of single weapon versatility, the M16 shines in ways that the shotguns simply cannot. And when you compare them in a shotgun kind of friendly scenario, so i.e. at close range, the M16 is still absolutely competitive with them, which is insane, seeing as it's attack rifle. It's for basically the opposite job of a shotgun. So that's nice, but there's also the AUG, which is another burst weapon. Surely that would be comparable here too. And unfortunately, it's not quite, because the M16 turns into a 6-round burst when pack-a-punched, whereas the AUG burst remains unchanged. And that's why I'm sticking to just an M16 recommendation in this video, amongst other reasons. Now, I mentioned the M16 is a tac rifle, and this is your sign that you should upgrade the tac rifle skill tree as well, because this is going to give you a significant damage boost and give you things like damage at range too, which is definitely worth spending your Ethereum crystals on, in my opinion. So let's talk loadout. First of all, if you guys haven't done this before, because it's a new feature in the game, we're going to make sure we make a custom mod for this in the gunsmith, and that way you'll be able to apply this particular loadout and set of attachments to any M16 that you find in the world at any time in Cold War. It doesn't matter if a friend drops the gun, or you get it from the mystery box, or you buy it off the wall, you'll be able to put these attachments on and maximize your damage instantly. We'll start off with the Optic. I'm going to go with a millstop reflex here, because I'm a big fan of red dot sights that aren't too clunky, but for this, go with what makes you comfortable. For the muzzle, we'll be going for the Flashguard 556, and some people might think that the SOCOM Eliminator would be a better choice, but that's going to decrease your shooting move speed by 10%, and I do not think that trade-off is worth it in nearly any scenario, especially when all it's giving you is recoil control. Like, half the time you're not even ADSing in zombies, you're just shooting from the hip, and so where the Eliminator would work best is scenarios where you're not being kind of immediately chased and shooting from the hip and being very quick with things, but actually you're moving slowly and shooting stuff at distance and need to be accurate. And I mean, when does that happen in zombies? It just doesn't. Stick with the Flashguard 556. For the barrel, we'll be going for the Task Force, and this one's a no-brainer, giving you extra damage, but then also extra damage range and bullet velocity. The downsides, losing out on recoil control, are low, as we've just discussed, not really something that I'm too worried about, and if you don't have this unlocked, because it can take a little while to get there, I'd say that going for the Strike Team is not a bad shout at all, but it isn't going to give you the same kind of damage boost that you'll get from the Task Force. That is a massive increase. And lastly, I know some people are going to say, what about the Cavalry Lancer? We'll talk about that particular attachment and its associated armor damage a little later in the video. Next up, body. Our choice is the Ember Sighting Point, and this is because Sprinter Fire Time isn't really as important anymore, because Speed Cola Tier 5 lets you sprint and shoot at the same time, so you don't have a sprint to fire time, and so having a worse sprint to fire time is not an issue. You also get a hip fire accuracy buff here, which is really nice, because like I mentioned, sometimes you just don't want to have to ADS with the M16. You want to use it almost like it's a shotgun, and having a tighter hip spread is really useful for that. And so hearing that, you might think, well, why not use the SWAT 5mm laser, which gives you a better buff for hip fire accuracy and doesn't hurt your ADS time as much. But the key detail there, and the reason we're choosing the Ember Sighting Point, is that it gives us increased salvage drop rate. Now, please do not sleep on increased salvage. It is unbelievably useful having more salvage in this game, and you'll find if you do Easter egg runs with your teammates that don't use attachments like these, that they end up getting armor much more slowly than you do. Their guns stay at lower rarities for longer compared to yours, and just overall, they have a much slower experience getting set up compared to if you've got those high salvage drop rate attachments. They're fantastic. I promise you, you won't regret this. For Underbarrel, we're going to go with Bruiser Grip. It's just got pros across the board. It's a really positive attachment to have, and overall just makes you feel a bit less sluggish, and it also has a hidden buff for faster melee, and that probably won't make any difference to any of you guys unless you spawn in with this weapon and it's your loadout gun, in which case that might be a nice little boost at the start of a game. If you really wanted an alternative here, go for Infiltrator Grip, but to be honest, I think that the Bruiser Grip is the way to go. Now then, magazine. Let's go for the Salvo 54 round fast mag. This gives the most buffs out of all the magazines while only taking a hit to ADS time, and like I mentioned before, that's not a big deal for us. And when comparing it to the Stanag 54 round, it's better because of the increased reload speed, and so I stick with the 54. You could go for the 45 round speed mag if you wanted, which is basically the light version of the 54. But if you're truly optimizing, 54 is the way to go. For handle, we're going to go with Serpent Wrap. Reason being, once again, Speed Cola Tier 5 makes up for the con here, the downside, while helping cancel out the ADS cons of the other attachments that you're using. And to be honest, a lot of the other handles are just completely useless, like flinch resistance, aim while going to prone. You don't need any of that. The only possible alternative probably is the Speed Tape, which gives you bonus to ADS time, and it's the first thing you unlock, so if you've only got that, you might as well put it on, but the rest, just forget about them. And finally, the SAS Combat Stock as our stock, which offers big buffs to the sort of sluggishness that you'd feel with the gun if you're not hip firing. And despite the fact that this is going to hurt your hip fire accuracy a little bit, the gun is still going to be really good at hip firing because you're using other attachments to buff that stat. I think if you're really worried about it, then maybe flip to the tactical stock because that doesn't have any downsides. But my choice is the SAS Combat Stock. So with those building blocks in place, we can now talk about how to use it most effectively and how much damage it actually does as you go from your low rounds all the way through to your boss fights, etc. So at base, the M16 is going to do 360-ish damage per crit and 69-ish to the body. But the key detail to mention is that is per bullet. And remember, this is a burst weapon. So with a 3-round burst, we're talking 1100 damage dished out pretty much instantly. And that means that without upgrading rarity and without pack-a-punching, you can one-burst zombies all the way through to round 14. It's only once you get to around round 15 where the zombie's health will go up to about 1150, and so your 1100 damage per burst will no longer one hit. But still, that's insane, and you'll absolutely have pack-a-punch and stuff by then, so it's just not a worry at all. This also means that if you've been having any trouble with mini-bosses, like megatons, stuff like that, early in your game, the M16 can help you shred those because you're basically ahead of schedule on your power curve, literally just by holding this weapon. And this one-burst ability that I've just mentioned basically never goes away. You'll start getting to those mid to high rounds, and you'll pack-a-punch it and upgrade its rarity, and it will just keep on one-bursting zombies in front of you, apart from, and this is an important point, armored zombies. We're not using the armor damage attachment here, and so it does actually take a bit of time for the M16 to take the armor off those armored zombies. For instance, here on round 25, you can see that it's doing about 600 damage-ish to the zombie's armor, and 2 full bursts took its armor off. This obviously is no longer a 1 burst at this point, but once the armor is off, the triple-packed purple M16 then does like 10k damage with 1 shot to the head. So that zombie's getting shreked. Now, this might sound like a really strong case to just use the armor damage attachment, but bear in mind what you'd be losing if you did make that switch. And I think that the smart thing to do is look for somewhere where you can buff your armor damage without having to lose out on all the benefits of the attachments that we chose, and that comes in the form of an ammo mod. And straight away, some of you guys are going to go, oh yeah, use Shatter Blast, it's good against armor. But surprisingly, I'm not actually going to recommend that here. You see, with the way that the zombies' health caps changed and stuff like that, as you start getting to high rounds and armored zombies actually start giving you a real challenge, you're going to want something that just takes them out no matter what. And for that, I'd actually recommend Napalm Burst. The burst procs a lot more frequently than you're going to get with Shatter Blast, and it's going to guarantee a kill on any zombie that it does proc on. So if you've got a load of armored zombies chasing you, you can basically just focus on them, proc the fire on them, and then focus on the rest of the zombies while the armored zombies die. And that's it. Problem solved. You don't need to worry about anything else at that point. Now, you could also potentially use Deadwire here. That will also kill zombies that it stuns, but because the proc is slower, I think that it's not as good as Napalm Burst for this particular purpose. Another thing worth mentioning is that there's very little bullet penetration in zombies this year, and so if you're shooting into a horde in the sort of 20s to 30s, those rounds, you're going to end up killing multiple zombies per burst because each individual shot is going to do so much damage, and remember, it's a 6-round burst when packed. It'll almost feel like the M16 has bullet pen that other guns just don't have, which is really nice. And you also get a crit damage bonus, which was just applied in the most recent patch. This means that once you're fully upgraded, you've got all your perks and stuff, your first bullet in a burst, assuming it's being shot into a zombie's head, is going to do about 26 to 28k damage. And this is higher than the rest of the burst because of that dead shot buff. The rest of the burst will do about 13 to 14k damage. And so, if you add it all up, that means that the max potential damage per burst is about 100k. That's not an exaggeration. 100k. That's a lot of damage. And if you have an ammo mod like Cryo Freeze on, you'll then also be doing 25% more damage to enemies that are frozen. So you can do even more. It's insane. This thing is just so damn powerful. And as I'm sure you can imagine, doing that much damage means that you can just use this thing like a shotgun if you really want to. You don't have to be shooting it at range. You can literally just hip fire into the zombie right in front of you, and it's going to do a stupid amount of damage to them. And the same goes for mini bosses too. I mean, if you've got Deadwire on and you're trying to take down megatons, you'll do about 25k crit damage, which should let you take the megaton down in just a couple of bursts, and that goes for high rounds as well, like round 60 plus, you can just beam down mini bosses with this thing. And so I guess the question is, well, if it's good against mini bosses, how does it fare against actual bosses? The Order in Firebase and Outbreak is obviously a great boss to use this against because you've got range, so you're never going to get stepped on or slammed with that big club hammer. You definitely don't have that luxury with the shotguns, unfortunately. So that's another point scored for the M16. I know it isn't technically a boss, but with mini bosses like the Panzer, which flamethrower you also don't have to worry about standing in the flames in order to shoot it like you do with a shotgun. You can just run away and then shoot it from distance because, once again, the M16 works great at range, especially with that skill tree upgrade. The most important boss to talk about, though, is the Tempest, right? Legion. For this, I think the M16 is actually the best weapon to use in the entire game, but there is one kind of trick to make it even better. Like I mentioned, the skill trees make it so that you do more damage at long range, and if you're at super close range, you'll also do more damage because you'll be within your effective damage range. What this leads to with the M16 is a weird window in the middle, at mid ranges, where you'll actually do the least damage. So I'd recommend with the Tempest, you either get up close and personal, just like you would with a shotgun or something like that, and get that super close effective damage range, or you just stay nice and safe and stay as far away as possible, because that'll give you the extra damage buff from the skill trees, and you'll shred just a little bit more effectively that way. But don't get me wrong, it's still great if you're at mid ranges, it's just less damage than you could be doing. And this brings us nicely on to what it's like to actually break the boss's armor with the M16. You may think that the shotguns are the absolute best thing to use in the boss fight, but remember, the boss is moving around constantly. It might have that gas in front of it that stops it from being easily shot at super close ranges, and so if you've got a shotgun, you might have very limited options for ways that you can actually get the damage into the boss that you need to do, whereas the M16 never has that problem. Against the boss orbs, you're going to do about 4,000 damage, maybe a little bit more than that when close to the boss, and it's only going to take about 5 seconds to destroy one. This is just a touch slower than the Hower would do at that same close range. The Hower takes about 4 to 5 seconds to destroy a ball, but then when you're shooting the ones that are higher up in the air, the Hower is much more awkward, whereas the M16 handles it no sweat. Easy peasy. Of course you can shoot those balls that are higher up. Not a problem at all. So overall, I'd say that this thing is fantastic for round-based high rounds. It's amazing for Outbreak, doing the Easter egg, or just playing it, doing side quests, fighting orders, stuff like that. If you want to know what field upgrade I recommend to kind of complement it, I'd say that Frenzied Guard is probably a good one. It's going to mean that you can get right up in the face of enemies that might be attacking you and just beam them in the forehead, and also will replenish your armor, of course, while you do so. So it's just a really good upgrade. I think that that is a good one to have in your loadout. But yeah, that wraps it up from me. M16 is incredible. Give it a go. Give this loadout a try. Let me know if it's useful for you. And if you want more loadout videos like this one, breaking down other guns, almost like a weapon guide, then let me know with a comment down below, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.